After the battle ended, the screams didn't stop. While history praised the honor of the samurai, it remained silent about the fate of the women they captured. Some were never seen again. Others wished they hadn't survived. Tonight, you will discover what history tried to bury. What you're about to hear isn't in your history books. It wasn't taught in schools, and for centuries, it was deliberately erased. We've been told stories of honor, loyalty, and the sacred code of the samurai. But there's another side to this story, one that involves the women who became invisible victims of these wars. Before we go deeper into this dark chapter of history, if you want to discover more untold stories like this one, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel exists to bring you the history they don't want you to know. All right, let's begin. To understand what happened to these women, we first need to understand who the samurai really were. The samurai were the warrior class of feudal Japan. For over 700 years, they dominated Japanese society. They followed a strict code called Bushido, the way of the warrior. This code emphasized loyalty to their lord, honor in battle, discipline in all aspects of life, and willingness to die rather than face dishonor. But here's what they don't tell you. This honor had limits. It applied to their relationships with other samurai, with their lords, with their peers. But when it came to conquered enemies, especially the women of defeated clans, the rules were very different. During the Sengoku period, the Age of Warring States, from 1467 to 1615, Japan was torn apart by constant civil war. Clans fought for territory, power, and survival. And in every battle, in every conquered village, in every defeated castle, there were women. Women who would become the silent casualties of war. These women came from all walks of life. They weren't soldiers, they weren't warriors, they were simply in the wrong place when the battle ended. Let me show you who they were. The most vulnerable. Simple farmers' wives, daughters, sisters. When a samurai army passed through a village, these women had no protection, no army, no walls. They were considered the lowest value, but also the most expendable. Esposas y filhas de guerreiros inimigos. When a samurai clan defeated another, the women of the losing side became symbols of conquest. Taking them wasn't just strategic, it was psychological warfare, breaking the enemy's bloodline, humiliating their legacy. Daughters of daimyos, feudal lords. These were the most valuable captives. They could be used for political alliances or kept as trophies. Their beauty and status made them targets. Women captured specifically to serve the victorious army, not as soldiers, but as labor, as servants, as other things. Here's the brutal truth. Under feudal Japanese law, these women had no rights. Zero, they were classified as spoils of war, the same category as weapons, horses, and gold. They could be distributed among soldiers, gifted to allies, sold, used, discarded. Many were separated from their children, who were either killed or enslaved. And what happened next is where history goes silent. Now we enter the part of history that was never written in the official records, but it was documented quietly by monks, foreign travelers, and in private letters that survived the centuries. Portuguese missionaries who arrived in Japan during the 1500s wrote about what they witnessed. Dutch traders kept journals, Buddhist monks recorded their observations, and what they described was systematic. After a battle, women were rounded up and held in makeshift prisons, often in temples, storage houses, or castle basements. They weren't treated as prisoners of war, they were treated as property. Some women were taken to the castles of victorious daimyos. There, they were forced into service, not as maids, but as concubines. In private, they were not women. They were commodities of war. Samurai lords would sometimes gift captured women to allies to strengthen political bonds. Imagine being handed over like a piece of furniture to a stranger in a foreign castle. No choice, no voice, no escape. Some women were forced into marriages with their captors. This wasn't romance, it was domination, a way to legitimize control over conquered territories, using women's bodies as the signature on the treaty. And then, there were those who were simply killed after being used. Historical records mention women being executed to avoid complications, meaning to prevent them from escaping, speaking out, or becoming a burden. Some were thrown into rivers, others buried in unmarked graves. Perhaps most disturbing, some women were sold, trafficked to other regions, to ports, even to foreign traders. The line between prisoner and slave didn't exist. Now, you might be asking, where's the proof? European records, letters from Jesuit priests, diaries of samurai themselves. Some actually documented their acquisitions. There's a Portuguese account from 1585 that describes visiting a Japanese castle and seeing many women held in service against their will, some barely clothed, others bearing marks of violence. This wasn't an exception, it was the norm. Let me tell you about one woman. Her real name is lost to history, but let's call her Lady Aiko. Aiko was the daughter of a minor samurai in a small village during the Sengoku period, around 1570. She was 19 years old. She had just married. Her husband was a low-ranking warrior loyal to the local daimyo. Life was simple, hard but peaceful. Then one morning, everything changed. A rival clan attacked. The battle was swift and brutal. Her husband died defending the village gate. Aiko tried to run. She grabbed her younger sister and fled toward the forest. But they didn't make it. She was captured by 3 samurai soldiers. Her sister was taken by others. Aiko was brought to the victorious daimyo's castle, along with 30 other women. For the first 3 days, they were kept in a storage room. No food, little water. They could hear the celebrations outside, the victors drinking, singing. On the 4th day, the doors opened. The women were divided. Some were sent to the kitchens, others to the soldiers' quarters. Aiko was taken to the daimyo's personal wing. She spent 6 months in that castle. She never saw her sister again. According to a Buddhist monk's journal from that region, one of the few records we have, many women from that raid were discarded after the daimyo grew bored. Some were married off to lower soldiers, others were sold to traders. Aiko's fate? Unknown, but her story is the story of thousands. So, why don't we know about this? Why aren't these stories in textbooks? Why don't museums talk about this? Because history is written by the victors. For centuries, Japan romanticized the samurai. They became symbols of honor, discipline, loyalty. Movies were made, legends were written, the katana became sacred, but no one wanted to talk about the women. No paintings, no poems, no monuments. The men became legends, the women became silence. Even today, many Japanese historians are reluctant to discuss this openly. It's considered shameful, uncomfortable, and that's exactly why it needs to be told. For centuries, history wrote poems about the blade, but never about the women who bled under it. So, what do we do with this information? First, we remember. We don't erase. We don't romanticize. The samurai were human. They did honorable things, and they did terrible things. Both can be true. Second, we honor the women who suffered, even if we don't know their names, even if history forgot them. They existed, they mattered, and their pain was real. The samurai are remembered as symbols of honor, but perhaps the greatest dishonor was what they did when no one was watching. If you believe these stories deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button right now, because the past has more secrets than you imagine, and this channel is committed to uncovering them. Drop a comment below. What other hidden stories should we investigate next? And if this video impacted you, share it. Let's make sure these voices aren't silenced again. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.